Bhagavan is elaborating karma yoga in this third chapter. He wants Arjuna to understand what is this action? What is the nature of action? You have to be very clear here. You think Arjuna wants to run away from the battlefield and avoid acting in the world. Why? Because he thinks that Bhagavan has actually said Jnana Yoga is superior and Jnana Yoga is equivalent to sannyasa yoga, which is renouncing the world, leaving all your duties, leaving all the roles, going off into the forest and living a spiritual life, or, that is what he feels is Jnana Yoga, that renunciation. But Bhagavan will very clearly say in the third chapter that renunciation of action is not true renunciation. The real renunciation is what? It's to be in the world, face the challenges, day-to-day life, all the challenges that we have to face. And the renunciation is actually always in the head, because we can, even if we run away physically from objects and people, they will still follow us in our mind. So I remember Swami Dayananda telling a story of a sadhu who had enough, he had enough of this world, and he's just fed up with his wife, his children, and he wants to go to the Himalayas and meditate. And he gets on the train and he tells, actually, he spoke to Swamiji. He said, I've had enough of all of this. I'm going to go off, I'm going to go off to the Himalayas and I'm going to meditate. I don't need this family life anymore. I'm only going for God, for Jnanam. And, he went all the way to the Himalayas. Swamiji actually met this Swami. He had actually taken ochre robes and everything. After 3 months just with himself, he could not tolerate himself because everything was in his mind. He had carried all those people that he thought he'd left behind, all those things that he thought he'd left behind, he'd carried with him to the Himalayas, not physically, but they were in his mind. So Swamiji often used to joke and say they had free tickets on the train to go to the Himalayas with that Swami. And this is what, it's the danger he will bring up in chapter 5 of renouncing the world too soon. So what is the main thing in this chapter? He says, both karma yogis and jnana yogis have one common goal. And that common goal is moksha. Moksha, or liberation. Liberation from this cycle we saw of birth and death. What does that mean? It means discovering your freedom, alive here and now, and that will not allow your rebirth in future in another body. The subsequent rebirth will not be there once you discover the self. So he offers two choices to Arjuna. He says what? You can choose a more outward going life, one of pravritti, he says. It is called pravritti marga, outward going life, where a lot of activity is involved. You will have to be in the family life, the grahastha ashrama, go to your job, do your duty as an employer, as an employee, do your duty as a family person, all the roles you have to play, but with a certain attitude. It is not just doing the roles with just doing any action. It is the attitude behind the action which becomes very important in the spiritual pursuit. So one path, one lifestyle is not superior to another. This is what we have to understand. One lifestyle is not superior to the other because both have the moksha as the goal, both of these type of people, yogis. So the second path he offered, the second lifestyle he offered was a jnana yoga lifestyle. And he said this is more of nivritti, more of withdrawal, of contemplation, of study, of being able to be with oneself. And as we are seeing, it is not so easy. Bhagavan will bring that up again and again. We think sometimes, oh, it'd be so nice to just be by ourselves and not get involved with this world. Everywhere I go, there's conflict. Everywhere I see, there's some kind of war, fighting, virus, this, something coming up. It'll be so nice to live in a little guha in the Himalayas or somewhere in Kutiyar, in Anikatti, Gurukula, very quiet, away from the world. But as I said, something goes with you all the time, wherever you go. This is the main thing that follows us all in our life, all throughout the life. The one thing to be addressed is the mind. So it is mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho, our Shastra says. It is the mind alone that is responsible for your bondage or freedom. No one outside is to blame for anything actually in life. We'll see more and more because Shastra says it is only our reactions to situations reactions to people that create sorrow and unhappiness in our life. Actually, none of the problem lies outside. It's a very difficult fact to stomach because we are orientated to blaming the world, finding ourselves a victim of situations and people, and we always have that outward pointing finger. But Shastra actually says it is your own mind. If you learn to manage your mind, which the Bhagavad Gita helps one do, if one learns to manage one's mind, one's thoughts, then you can very much face the world and still be free while alive, doing all your duties, all the tasks. In fact, we have this notion that realized spiritual people are sitting under trees and meditating and, not in touch with the world. Vedanta has a very different vision of a wise person. A wise person can be very much active in the world. Janaka, King Janaka, if you've ever heard of King Janaka, he's a great king talked about in our scriptures. He was a grihastha jnani. He was a married man. In those days, they probably had multiple wives as well. So he had to handle a lot of women as well. His palace, he had to handle a lot of things, and yet he was free inside. So this is the what the two options that Bhagavan gives Arjuna, because Arjuna is confused. We saw in the first two verses, he felt that Krishna was confusing him, as though confusing him. There's a reason. Why is Krishna telling me that jnanam is better, but then he's telling me yudhyasva, fight? I don't understand. So that is where we've come to. And this lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta maya nagha, very important verse. He says devotion is common to both karma yoga and this sannyasa lifestyle, this jnana yoga. Bhakti, you cannot divorce from these other lifestyles. It is very prevalent. Why? Let us see. Is there karma yoga without Ishvara? No, because you have to bring in a supreme intelligence, a superior intelligence, because there's an acknowledgement in karma yoga of a karma phala data, or the giver of the results of action. Now, if situations manifests in my life as results of my actions from past, whether unpleasant or pleasant, who is responsible for those situations? Am I responsible? No, we know we are not. Our free will is not involved in what happens to us in life. Many times we make efforts and we get opposite results. We may get less than what we expect. Who is there who deciding? So that is where Shastra says very clearly, and Bhagavad Gita brings in this concept of karma phala data, very important, the giver of the results of action. So if you acknowledge the giver of results of action, where is the question of bhakti being separate? There has to be a devotional attitude when you live this type of lifestyle. Bhagavan is also called karma phala dhyaksha. Karma dhyaksha. Karma dhyaksha means he is the weigher or the judge of your actions. So sometimes, when we're alone, we think we can get away by, not doing a right action because nobody's watching. But Shastra says somebody is watching and he's very much with you. Antaryami, he is in your heart. He is observing everything, every action, every thought, every word of every human being is weighed up by karma dhyaksha. He's in the form of consciousness, and this gets registered. So whatever we do, whether alone or in the midst of people, dharma becomes very important as a path in life to be followed. It is to be chosen. We saw that ethical attitude towards life has to go with the karma yoga lifestyle. You cannot, that is why Bhagavan uses the word kaushalam in the second chapter. It is not skill in action. Many times you'll find the translation skill in action. There is no skill in action here. It is discernment in your action. Am I doing the action in line with ethics? Am I doing it as with my agenda in view? Does it hurt? Does my action hurt people around me or disturb things around me? This is how I should weigh up as a karma yogi. If I'm interested in moksha, again, moksha is the goal. I weigh up my actions in life with these meters. The meter of dharma, the marker of dharma governs my interaction with this world. So this is very important, that bhakti is very much in the karma yoga lifestyle, because he is the giver of results. But in the other end of karma yoga as well, you offer your work to Ishvara as well. When you do the very action, who is it that you're doing it for? That is a karma yoga, the bhakta life. You offer every action to the Lord. So everything becomes your best. You put in 100%. When you're offering it to divinity, how will you do the action? You will do it to your best ability. That is a karma yoga lifestyle. Arpanam. Work becomes your worship, more than even pujas, doing hundreds and thousands of pujas, spending hours doing all of these rituals, and then living unethical lives. It's better to live a very simple, a very beautiful, simple life, offering all your work to Ishvara, whether pleasant or unpleasant. It doesn't matter, because it is to be done. Any to be done work, it is manifesting in your life. Even if you have to do the dishes, some chores at home, nobody likes to do all these chores and everything at home, but you can divinize even your chores. When you vacuum the carpet, you can actually say, my mind is becoming purer just cleaning the dust of this carpet. When you wash the vessels, you can antavkarna shuddhi, you can do japa while doing it. So every action in life, it becomes a worship. So it's a very beautiful attitude of a bhakta. Karma yogi has. And sannyasi also has bhakti, because this question came up last time as well. Why does a sannyasi have bhakti? Sannyasi or a jnana yogi also has bhakti, because what is the pursuit actually? You cannot just renounce the world. For what are you renouncing the world? You're leaving your family, you're leaving your roles, you're leaving your job. What for what? To know God. That is the main goal of a sannyasi renunciate in the Shastra. I want to know God. That is the predominant desire of a sadhu who wants to leave everything, focus on jnanam, and to know the Lord. Otherwise, where is spiritual life? There is no spiritual life if you just renounce the world and live like a hobo, right? That is not spiritual. There has to be a goal. So both of the lifestyles have the goal of discovering the Lord. One is through action, purifying your mind through this karma yoga type of attitude and action, and the other is a very, very difficult lifestyle as well. After it's said that after having done an active life, after having lived in the world for some time, only a person will be ready for that type of life, unless one has done it in previous lives. There are instances where you have swamis and sadhus and great masters who've taken to renunciation without having gone through the grihastha. But the majority of people will definitely have to live the karma yogi lifestyle and do their duties pursuing knowledge. It is not that you don't have, like you're doing now, this Gita class along with your work. You don't leave your work. We have the Gita class. You pursue knowledge at the same time. At the same time, you have your roles to play in your family. You're doing your work as well. So this is an important thing in this verse. Moksha is the nishta. Moksha is the goal for both. There are no parallel paths here. It is just two lifestyles Bhagavan is talking about. And I hope that is clear, because that shows that everything merges in this attitude of bhakti. Devotion permeates both lifestyles. And shraddha is another word that the Shastra brings in, which is deep belief, deep faith. Shraddha is a commitment to a certain lifestyle, commitment to a goal. This is very easy to get sidetracked sometimes in spiritual life. And this is where we have Shraddha. When Shraddha comes in, you realize, no, what is ultimately going to benefit me in my life? What is life's purpose? Am I simply born here on this earth to eat, sleep, procreate, enjoy, and die? No, there is a greater purpose to every human life here. And it's a self-discovery, to discover yourself. At least if you don't make it in this life, Bhagavan promises in chapter 6, you will definitely pick up the thread in your future life. I will give you a birth. He promises, I will give you a conducive birth in your future life, where you will be born into a family which will help you pick up the spiritual thread. So nothing you do in this life will go to waste. That is one very, very good thing to know. So we don't have to worry, oh, I'm not ready yet. I haven't made it yet. How far I've got to go. No, Bhagavan says you will still carry on, and all of it, it'll be like, bank transfer. It'll be transferred to the next account.